Hey everyone. I'm doing a video just because I started writing a blog post and I realized it was going to take me days upon days to write said post and probably multiple parts, and it gets to a point where it's so much information and so much emotion that it does not convey properly to the page. And I'm trying to get my brain back on track to finish the last 5 chapters of my book, as well as just a lot of journaling and just living life. So it's easier for me to sit down here for a number of minutes and update you all on how I'm doing. You know, my relationship with my mother is as it has always been the last almost 7 years, and that is that I have absolutely no personal communication with her whatsoever. And that will continue to be so. Um, about a month ago, Tyler got a phone call from a woman who it turns out is my mother's occupational therapist. And the woman, in the past, Tyler owns the house where she lives. Tyler owns mom's house. And it's about 3 miles away from us, for those who don't know. And he also pays for the electricity, the gas, the water, the sewage, the landscaping. I think that's everything. So, anyway, the occupational therapist called Tyler, said that she was concerned that my mother was, and honestly, guys, let's just not call her my mother. Let's just call her Joanne. That Joanne was not taking care of herself properly, hadn't really bathed in a while. Her house was a wreck, and she was in a lot of pain. And so Tyler texted my mother, to let her know that he knew this and that the occupational therapist had said that it was time for her to go into assisted living. So, of course, my first reaction was, okay, well, she's of sound mind. She can figure this out herself. But then I started to worry, what if she's not of sound mind? And then what are my legal obligations regarding all of this, etc.? So I started, reading up, because my first thought was, let's just call Adult Protective Services and turn her over to the county. Evidently, there are laws in 30 some odd states in the United States called filial laws that basically state that if you are financially able to care for your parent and the county or state has to care for them, then you could owe that money back to the county or state. I find it interesting that our government is very much focused on protecting the abuser and not the abused. At any rate, granted, those laws are typically not enforced, but I honestly don't feel like being the person that gets to test that out, so to speak. At any rate, we started researching assisted living communities, waiting for her to respond. We toured 4 of them. And then I also started paperwork for a VA benefit that for which she's eligible, thanks to my father's service in the Korean War. My mother finally responded. She called Tyler and said, I have a new phone. I don't know how to use it. It's easier to call me. And we were expecting a very difficult conversation, but she, of course, said, much to our surprise, I agree, I should go into assisted living. So we immediately started the plan to get her moved. And at first we were going to give it a little while, find a service that would come help her bathe, help her, with housekeeping, that type of thing. But the service, for whatever reason, was unavailable. We had already been researching communities. We didn't feel like researching in-home nursing care, so we chose our second favorite community only, and the reason why they were our second favorite was because our first favorite was very expensive and not going to be fiscally responsible for us to choose. So we took the second favorite. Um, and literally within just under 2 weeks, I guess, we had her moved in. It'll be 2 weeks ago this Friday that she was moved into the community. Tyler has been amazing in making sure that I don't have any contact with her. And one of my best friends, Tony, who's also my sorority sister, helped Tyler in moving her. It was an all-day affair. And once they moved her, I went over to her house because I mainly wanted to find photographs, old photographs, to have. When my father died, he was a retired patrolman with the South Charleston Police Department, and he was also a Korean War veteran. At the end of the Korean War, when he was sent back to the United States, he had an old USMC uniform military top, that olive green with, USMC across the upper pocket. And he had actually taken it to a local woman there in Posang, paid her with a carton of cigarettes, and she embroidered it. She embroidered patches. She embroidered 2 dragons on the back with the American flag, the Korean flag, and Dad's name and his dates of service and, everything. And I loved that jacket. It was the one of 2 things that I asked for after he died. The other thing was his gold badge from the police department that they had given him when he retired. When I asked her for these items, her first response was, "Well, I threw away the badge because I was angry with your father." And I don't know where the jacket is. Okay. So I was walking through her house. I found a box of photos. And, I'm just looking through. Yes, I'm nosy. I'm nosy as hell. So I'm just, opening closets, walking in, that kind of thing. And I opened up her coat closet. And there, amidst her coats, not shoved off to the side, not covered up with a garment bag, was my father's Korean War jacket. I could have choked her in that moment if she had been in front of me. When my grandfather died, I didn't have contact with that side of the family because of my mother. I didn't go to his funeral, but that following summer, I visited my grandmother, and I asked her, "Hey, can I have Papa's senior yearbook?" "Yes, of course, Heather. It's yours. Take it." So I took the jacket out of the closet and I brought it home. I'm going to take it to someone to repair the embroidery on the back that is coming loose and fraying. And I'm going to wear the hell out of it. The next day, I went back to the house because Tony told me that they had emptied out a couple of her dresser drawers, and there were probably items in there that needed to be retrieved. In the meantime, I was told that some of my father's paperwork was brought home. So I need, paperwork items like his discharge papers, his social security number, that kind of thing, to get this VA benefit for my mother. And sitting on top of all the papers that Tyler had brought home was an envelope that Tony had found. And in the envelope, well, it was labeled Keller Funeral Home, which is where we had my father's funeral. And I remembered the envelope because Dad's death certificate and all that information had been in there. So I popped it open, pulled out the documents and opened them, and none of them had to do with my father. One was a power of attorney, one was a healthcare advocacy form, and one was a will. All three had been filled out, notarized, and signed in January of 2021. So 3 years after I cut off contact with her. The will named her friend Barbara as her beneficiary. The power of attorney listed her friend Barbara as her power of attorney and signed off by Barbara and notarized. And the healthcare advocacy form was filled out so that her friend Verna is her healthcare advocate. And Verna was listed as the second beneficiary and the secondary power of attorney. My mother knew in those 10-day, 2-week period that I was working on the paperwork for the VA and that I was signing her lease paperwork for the assisted living community. And not a word was said that I legally could not do any of those things, nor could Tyler. And I am not, I'm going to be dead honest with all of you in that I am 99.9% sure that she never meant for anybody, except for Barbara and Verna, to know about those papers, because those were meant for us to find after she died to completely tie us up legally in probate. I lost my shit. I lost it. I handed that paperwork to Tyler, told him about it. I handed all of the VA benefit paperwork, and I said, I'm done. Those bitches can have her. I don't care. And I know when I say this, some of you are going to be like, well, where have you been, Heather? Where have you been? Why haven't you taken care of her? Okay, well, let me just say, Barbara and Verna, where the fuck have you people been for the last 3 years? Because if I were someone's power of attorney, I would be checking in on them, especially if they're in their early 80s and in poor health. And if I were their power of attorney, I would also let the estranged daughter and son-in-law know this. Tyler took the paperwork to her, said, I am uncomfortable acting as your legal representative. I am still your landlord. And you need to call Barbara and Verna. To which she replied, I would rather redo all of this paperwork, Tyler, and have you be my power of attorney beneficiary legal advocate. Yeah, because look who's taking care of you, right? He refused to be your healthcare advocate because, as we all know, narcissists feed off of supply, and my mother needs a constant supply, which we now know is back to its normal levels because she calls him every day. And y'all, she is of sound mind. She is sharp as a tack. There is no dementia going on. There is no Alzheimer's. There is no Lewy body dementia, nothing of that sort. She is sharp as a tack. Okay? And she knows how to take care of herself. She physically cannot bathe, but she knows mentally what she needs to do to care for herself. And yet she still needs that supply from Tyler, the nurses at the assisted living community, and the staff at the assisted living community. I am not joking when I tell you that all I told them was I'm estranged from her. That's all I said. I didn't give them reasons why, just that I was estranged. And she nearly got kicked out of that community in less than a week because of her behavior and her actions. I went back to the house the second day, and I went through the bags that were the contents of her dresser drawers. And I found her wedding band and engagement ring. Not in a box, not in a cushioned, ring box or in a jewelry box. No, they had been thrown into the drawer. And I know this because Tony told me. I found my children's photos, school photos, underneath a table in her bedroom that she kept covered with a tablecloth with, fancy tchotchkes and her TV on top. They were shoved up under there. Every single last one of them. There was not a photo of my children displayed anywhere in her house. So it was easier for her to hide my children away as if they didn't exist than for her to attempt to maintain a relationship with them. And when I cut off contact with her, I made sure that she understood that she could have a relationship with her grandchildren. She was welcome to have a relationship with her grandchildren, but she chose not to. That incensed me, that she hid those photos away because it was easier. Her house is a hoard. You cannot get into the garage. There's no parking a car in that garage. The guest bedroom that she always wanted to have as the place for the kids to go and, spend the night and have activities with her is absolutely packed full of wood, things for her to paint, a dresser full of beadwork, fabric. It's even spilled out into that guest bathroom that's upstairs. The other guest bedroom she had turned into a craft room. It is jam-packed full. Her downstairs living room, from what I understand from Tyler and Tony, it was hard to make a path through there. She has a chairlift that she took out a loan to purchase. She didn't go through Medicare to get it. She didn't ask us for help for it. So she enjoys being a martyr. And I am unbelievably done with her. She has asked Tyler repeatedly since reestablishing contact if I'm ever going to talk to her again. And if any of you decide to have contact with her, please. The answer is no. Never. Not ever. She lied to me about my extended family. She lied to my face about my father. She refused to have a relationship with her own grandchildren, which in hindsight is probably a good thing, because for my entire life growing up, I was the golden child and my father was the scapegoat. When my father died, I became the scapegoat and my husband became the golden child. So there's no telling at this point, with my 3 kids having their own brains and their own minds, and their own attitudes and their own opinions, which one of them would have been the scapegoat, which one of them would have been the golden child, and which one of them would have been the ignored one. Because I guarantee you she would have done it. But she refused to try to keep in touch with her grandchildren. She, named friends to take care of her who haven't done shit as far as I'm concerned. In fact, she told us that she's been in the hospital more this last year than she's been out. She had a 3-week hospital stay over the summer, and the county came and cleaned her refrigerator for her. Not us. We didn't know. She didn't call us. And she's called Tyler in the past for issues with the home. So she knows our phone numbers. She joined a church. She joined a Catholic church because she said it felt like more like family than any other, church or family she'd ever been a part of. But to my knowledge, that church has not shown up to help her in any way. So yeah, that's the status. She is comfortable and complaining about everything. her Social Security and her pension, the soon-to-be acquired VA benefit, and Tyler and I are paying for the community home. At some point, we're going to clean out the hoard at the house and rent out the house or sell it. I don't know. But it's it's an absolute crap show over there. And I've taken on that responsibility. And at some point, when Tyler gives me the okay, I'll start going through it and organizing it for an estate sale. Because she's in a one-bedroom studio. There's no way that all of that's going to fit in her house or in her apartment. And there's no way she's going to finish any of that in her lifetime. So, sorry this was a long video. It was just a lot quicker than typing. I'm doing okay. I've cried. I am not looking at social media. I am reading and crocheting. After I found all the power of attorney, will, healthcare advocate documents, I actually went through my house and threw away everything she'd ever given me. Because sometimes therapy is talking to a counselor, and sometimes therapy is taking out multiple garbage bags to a dumpster. So, feel free to call me, feel free to text me. Love to you all. Bye for now.